Hello, Scruffy fam. Joe here. Hey, it's been about a week and some change since we last talked. But today, what I want to share with you is something that has meant a lot to me lately, and I just want to kind of share how we got there. And if you've ever collected anything, I think you'll understand. Let's get to it. Alright guys, so I was a kid of the 80s and 90s, and one of the things that I liked to do was collect cards. I would collect baseball cards, basketball cards, football cards, and even Marvel comic cards. I never really got into the trading card games, so like Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, any of those types. That wasn't my thing. But I collected sports cards. And over the years, a couple of things happened around that where I just lost the joy of collecting the cards, and those ended up going away. It got to a point where other people had gotten into my sets and taken some of the most valuable cards I had, sold them, destroyed them, gotten rid of them, and I was left with literally thousands of just basic common cards that when Tasha and I were getting ready to leave the state of Washington, I took them to a card shop, and I think I ended up giving away almost 5,000 cards for I think $50. And it left a really sour taste in my mouth, and I was not very happy about it. Well, fast forward to a decade plus of marriage, and now we've got some kids, and we're looking at ways that we can engage with our children outside of video games and television. And I was sharing with my wife about how I used to enjoy collecting cards. We were getting into that conversation on things that we used to enjoy, and she shared with me that she used to collect Pokemon cards. And I thought, yeah, I think I remember that. I saw a bunch of Pokemon cards floating around your parents' house, and they were really big into Pokemon. And she and I did Pokemon Go on our phones when that came out. We walked around, and it was a great way for us to get exercise and walk and do things. So we did that, and that was a lot of fun that we would do together. And our kids have started to watch Pokemon on Netflix, and I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. Didn't really think a whole lot of it at the time. And like a week later, my wife went to the store and got a box of Pokemon cards. It was like a little display box with a bunch of little things in it, and she got that, and we opened up the cards with the kids, and they got really excited to see the Pokemon that they'd seen on the show, and Mom was able to explain who all the Pokemon were, and that was a lot of fun. And it was a little difficult for me at first, because I was like, I don't want to be at the point where I'm going to collect all these cards again, and people are just going to come in and take all the valuable ones and sell them, because that just sucks. Well, through that process, I talked with my son and asked him, we'll get some cards, you look at them and tell me who your favorite is, and we'll see if we can get you some stuff. Well, we did. And as we've been watching the show and he's been getting more into it, his favorite Pokemon is Charizard. Charmander from the very first episodes, and then followed on by Charizard. Loves it. Mildly obsessed with it. So much so that his birthday was Pokemon. I made him a Pokeball cake and cupcakes. We got him a Charizard Lego, Charizard t-shirt, Charmander and Charizard stuffies. The child is very much into Charizard. So what I started to do was collect Pokemon cards for him. We don't play the game. I don't know how to play the trading card game. My wife is starting to learn how to do that so that she can teach my son, and I think they're going to play the trading card game together, which I think is really, really cool. It'll be a way that she can connect with him my role in all of that is getting the cards and collecting them for him. And I didn't know a lot about collecting, so I'd just buy a bunch of random packs, and I would get the packs and open them and look for any of the Gee Whiz cards. Well, then I started to get a little bit more focused on, you know, what is it we're going to look for? What is the thing that we really want to get into? And we were doing that right about the time that it was right before Scarlet and Violet set was released for Pokemon. And I thought, okay, well, if this is what's going to happen, let's collect that set. And so we did. And we have the complete set of Scarlet and Violet. We got that. We ended anything that was past the original serial numbers, like any of the secret rares, the alternate arts, the gold cards. We got most of those, and I ended up trading all of those in. I talked with my son. He did not want them. He wanted what was in the basic set, so we traded those in to get other ones. And then we found out some of the sets that Charizard was in, and so we collected those. So we collected the Pokemon Go set. That was more for my wife and I. It was the Pokemon Go. There were only 78 cards in that set, so we collected that one. My son was very happy with the Charizard cards that were in there. And then from that, we got the Rainbow Mewtwo card that we ended up donating to a kiddo, which is, I didn't realize how expensive that card was, but I was very happy to donate to another kiddo who was in a rough situation. And then we started to look at Brilliant Stars, and I think there's 5 Charizard cards in Brilliant Stars. I didn't know anything about it except there were 5 Charizard cards in there, so I was like, let's start trying to get that. Well, in the very first box of Brilliant Stars that I opened, our very first pack, we got this, which is I don't know if you can see it very well on the camera. That's a Rainbow Charizard card. So we got that. And when I showed it to my son, he completely wigged out. He was so excited to get that. Well, a couple packs later, got this one, which is a Charizard alternate art card. And then over the next couple weeks, we ended up getting the rest of the Charizard. I think we're missing one more Charizard from that set, but it's like crazy expensive, and I'm not gonna spend that much on it. Well, as we started to open more packs and collect more, one really neat thing is I run a jiu-jitsu school, and I think I've mentioned that before on the channel, but I'm in a strip mall, and just a couple businesses down is a game store. It's called Flip Table Games, and they've got board games, they've got, most of them are community games, so they've got, you name it, they got, I'm not even pretend to know all of them, but I know they do Pokemon nights, Magic the Gathering nights, Marvel nights, Yu-Gi-Oh nights. They got Digimon. I think there's more. There's so much more. You guys should check out Flip Table Games. It's Flip Table Games in Wisconsin. Really awesome guys. Awesome guys. When I went in there and talked to them and told them about my son and his obsession with Charizard, I worked through trading them these Charizard cards. This one was from a tin. This one is from Vivid Voltage, Cracked Ice, and it's got Leon and Charizard on it. I know who that is now because we've watched Pokemon. And then this one was in one of their books that I traded them for. And then when I was there, one of the owners was like, hey, I was thinking about you with this for your little guy. How would you like this one? This is I think it's called Celebrations, but it's the original artwork for Charizard from like the base sets. A very, very cool card that, you know, they took the care and attention that my son would really like it. So as my son has seen these, he's just completely freaked out. He absolutely loves them. But what we did is we started working to collect the complete sets of cards, because we would watch the Pokemon show, and then my son would grab the binder and go flip through the binder, find the Pokemon we just watched on the show. And that has been really, really fun to watch. And the connection he gets with my wife with it, because she grew up with Pokemon, and now our son is growing up with Pokemon, and our daughter's getting into it a little bit too, and they all like the fact that they can go from watching it on the show to seeing it in the binder and going back and forth. I think my wife is working on figuring out how to play the trading card game. I don't know how to play the game. I don't. I'm just the one that sources all the cards for them as they want them and the different sets that they want. I collect the cards. But I've had a lot of luck with opening the cards. One really fun one that I got out of the Pokemon Go was this Mewtwo gold card. I also got the Mewtwo rainbow card. And like I said, we donated the Mewtwo rainbow card to a kiddo that was in a rough situation. So as we've started to get some of these cards, we have really worked on collecting sets, but then also donating any of like the super high value cards. We have ended up donating unless they were some of the family favorites. And that has been a really, really fun thing, because what it's done is I've had a lot of interactions with the guys that run Flip Table Games. Our businesses are right next to each other, so it's really cool that I can send people over to them, they send people over to me, and it's really neat. And I've developed a really cool relationship with them. As we were getting close to filling some of the sets, I would go in and talk to them, and they'd talk to the people in the shop, and they'd get some of the single cards that we were missing and help fill the book. And they really, really helped us finish. We finished the Scarlet and Violet set, the Pokemon Go set, and the Brilliant Stars set. And it's all thanks to those guys at the shop. And that was really neat. Really, really neat. Currently, we're working on Crown Zenith. That we're probably 3/4 of the way done on that one. And that's just been a really fun experience to do with my son and my wife. Well, that shop not just does Pokemon, and that's been a really fun thing to do with my kiddos, but they also do Magic the Gathering. And my wife and I have talked for years about wanting to figure out how to play that game and figure out how to do it, but we really didn't know how. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to get into it. And so I went in the shop and I asked the guys, I'm like, hey guys, this is something my wife and I are interested in doing. We have no idea what we're doing, but can you help us out? And the thing that impressed me more than anything else is that so on the shelf, there was a couple boxes. There was these boxes that said Commander decks ready to play, and then there was a starter pack. I was about to buy 2 of the Commander decks, and I think they were 50 or 60 bucks each, and I was like, you know what, I'll buy 2 of them, my wife and I can play. They stopped me and said, hey, get the starter deck, it comes with rules, the decks are ready to play, you just have to shuffle them and play, and it'll help you figure it out. The Commander decks were, I think, were either $50 or $60. That starter pack was under $10. They could have very easily let me spend well over $100 instead of $10, but they didn't. They guided us in the right direction. We got that pack, we started playing, and since then we started collecting and building up different decks and doing things. And the big expansion that came out when I actually started to collect was March of the Machine. And my wife and I have played several times. We've played a couple matches against each other and had a lot of fun with it. It's been a really enjoyable experience. That kids go to bed, it's just her and I sitting there. We could either sit and watch TV, or we could play this game with each other, and it's fun to see which cards come out and which strategies to use. But we've been doing that. But as I started to collect, I started putting cards in a binder, and as I did, I started to notice that I was starting to fill the binder, and I was getting a lot of the super rare cards that people were after, and if I'd get 2 or 3 of those cards, I'd trade them with the shop to get more cards to build my binder. And then when I got really close to it being complete, I think when we were 12 cards shy of the complete 291 cards for March of the Machine base set, I went into the shop, and the owner of the shop, there's two owners, they went through and just started flipping through cards that they had and started filling in the blanks. To have that type of community has been very refreshing. And I will tell you that I've been extremely jaded with card collecting for over a decade because of what happened with the sets that I had. And there were family members and loved ones that took cards out of my sets to sell them for different things. And they were very expensive cards that happened with. So it got me to a point where I didn't want anything to do with collecting cards again, because I didn't want to deal with that hurt and that pain of someone going out from under me and selling those cards. What my wife did was come back to something like this for me and say, I would never do that to you. Let's do this for our kids and us. And it has been so much fun. It has been an absolute blast. My kids love coming and looking at the binders to look at all the cards. They love watching the show and then coming and looking at the cards. Even the Magic cards. My son is like coming and looking at them and asking questions. It's been really cool to find out some of the lore and look at it. And it's been really fun for my wife and I to go through and see which cards were like, oh, that'd be really fun to play, and oh, you were not allowed to play that card at all. And we've seen some of them. And it has been a blast. It has been so much fun. And I now find myself stopping at the card shop, talking to the guys. We've talked about cards, our kids, different. It's just opened us up to another community that's been super, super fun. And so what I kind of wanted to share with you guys today is just another part of the Scruffy fam of things that we're doing. It is Scruffy fam. It's not just me. There's 7 of us in this family, and you know, finding ways for our family to connect and do things together as a family is a big deal. We've had mostly firearms on the channel lately, and that's because I'm in gunsmithing school. I spend a lot of time at the range. I'm taking my 7-year-old to shoot for the first time at the range. That's going to be a blast. But there's also things that I do with my wife and my other kids, and this is another just thing that we can do together as a family that's a lot of fun, but also brings me back to what I did as a kid and kind of instill that in my kids too, is to have this other thing that you can collect and have fun with and be engaged in another community outside of what you may think. And we've got a couple different card shops in our town that it's just really neat for me to see the number of people that come together at those shops in our community from all different walks of life. And you can walk in and it doesn't matter if you've got a binder and you're like, hey, I'm looking for a couple of these cards, do any of you guys, and 3 or 4 guys will come up and be like, oh, let me see what you got, and like, oh, that's an awesome card, or that's really cool, or oh, hey, I've got this one, or hey, do you need this? It's just been a really, really cool thing. And when they find that I'm collecting for my son, they go even farther above, which has been probably one of the best things for me, to be completely honest. The fact that the owners of that shop know enough about who I am and who my son is to go out of their way to find things, just, it speaks volumes about what people will do when you have shared interests and you're genuine. So a little bit longer video than I normally do, guys. I try to keep these 10-12 minutes, but I just really wanted to share my heart with this new endeavor that we have and this new thing we're doing that's been a lot of fun, and give you a little more glimpse into the life of the Scruffy fam. I had a couple people message me and ask me about the boxes that I've been on my workbench a few times, or the different cards that are piled up. Well, that's what they are. They're Pokemon cards and Magic the Gathering cards. We're putting together complete sets. The complete sets is my thing. The playable is my wife and my son's thing. So I put the individual complete set in a binder, and then we have boxes of all of the spares and extras that they take out to build decks with. So that's what we got going on, guys. That's just another fun thing. Maybe we'll record a night of my wife and I playing, and maybe I'll record a little snippet of my son doing the Pokemon check from watching the show. But I hope you guys like what you're seeing in the Scruffy fam. Going to the range next with my 7-year-old. He's going to shoot the 22 for the first time, and we're gonna kind of stairway him up to the 243 to see if we might be able to get him in the youth hunt this year. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. If you guys like what you're seeing, like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and we'll see you guys next time.